Today we are going to look at doubly linked lists. So let's first see how does a doubly linked list look like and what's its difference with a single linked list. So generally this is how a normal linked list looks like. So what do these like each of these nodes have? So each of these nodes for a singly linked list have two things. One is data, that is the value which it has, and the other thing is your next pointer, right? So the difference between a singly linked list and a doubly linked list is that in doubly linked list you also have a pref pointer, right? So which tells you that, like, let's say if I'm at 2, so my pref will point to 1. If I'm at 3, my pref will point to 2. If I'm at 1, my pref will point to null, right? So I also have a null pointer, right? So let's try creating that. So I'll just make no class, and let's assign these values publicly. So I'll just have these three things. One is your data. Okay, so see, data is the value that it will have, and I also need my two pointers. One is going to be my pref pointer, and one is going to be my next pointer, right? So this is going to be the basic structure, right? Now whenever I create a new node, so I also for that need to make a constructor function. So what will my construct function do? So it will take some input val, because I need to set that value for that particular node. So my data will basically store that value, right? And when I'm creating a new node, so initially both your ref and next pointer both have to be null, right? So your ref is equal to next is equal to null pointer, right? Okay, so that is the basic structure. Right now I also need to link one node to the other, because with this what will happen, only one will be created. Let's say create a node 1, right? So only one will get created, and then I create another node 2, only two will get created. So I'll just make another class that will help me to make this a doubly linked list, right? To join everything. So doubly linked list, and so here see I'll have for every linked list I'll have two things. One is my head and one is my tail, right? Okay, so if I write this much, then I'll have my both the pointers, and similarly I need to create two things which are my constructor function, and assign both these values head and tail, right? So if let's say I create my, I think I've named this really big. Should I make it smaller? Because this is really troublesome to write such a big name. So doubly linked list, and what I'll do, so initially my head and tail are both null, right? Okay, so this much is enough to create a doubly linked list. So now what I can do, I can just make it doubly linked list and name it as some DLL, right? So this will help you to create a doubly linked list, right? So now we also have an object uh, of doubly linked list class, and now what I need to do to actually push these values, I will also need to make a function, right? So let's create some push run function. So before creating that function, let's see what is going to be the logic for creating. So let's say uh, my linked list is empty, right? So when my linked list is empty and I'm inserting a node, let's say I'm pushing one at the front of the linked list, right? So then what happens if I push one, then what happens, my head and my tail both are equal to my new node, right? You get this thing key, if I push a new node and my linked list is empty before that, so my head and tail both will be assigned to the new node. Okay, now let's say I already have one, right? And I'm pushing two, and two will be pushed at the front. So what will happen if two is pushed at the front? Let's say I have one here, and I want two to be pushed at the front. That is somewhat this kind of a thing, this thing, right? So this 2 is pushed at the front of 1. So what happens? So my new node of next becomes my head. So my head previously was at 1, right? And so now what happens? My new node of next becomes head. And also what I need to do, I also after this need to change my head. So my head needs to be changed to new node again, right? So, and also there's one more thing, that before changing my head of prev needs to point to the new node that I have. So these three things need to be done. That is only when my linked list is not empty. Now let's say if it's empty, then there's no problem. You can just assign your head and tail both to null, right? So let me just create a new function. Let me create a new function called void push front. And what will this have? So see, every time I'll be pushing front a value. So I will just create a node. So it will just be like this, node star new node equal to some value. So it will be new node of that particular value, right? Because here I had written it in this syntax, that node int of val. So this creates a new node, right? So now I need to write the logic of the push run function. So what is the logic? The logic is somewhat like this, that if my head is equal to null ptr, so if my head is null, so what do? I just assign my head and tail both to null ptr, right? Okay, sorry, I assign both to new node. Okay, so that is when both of them are, when it's already empty. Now let's say it's not empty. So then the else part I'll check. So if my linked list is not empty, then what's the first thing that I do? I will have to point my, like my new node of next. My new node of next should point to my current head. And also what's important, that my head of prev should also point to the new node. And once I'm done with this, I need to change my head. So my head will be changed to my new node, right? So this much should be enough. Now let's say I already have an object that is DLL. So I'll just push front. Let's say first I'm pushing front 3, then I'm pushing 1, let's say, and then 1. Okay, so how can I check whether all that I've written is working or not? So if I want to check that, I can just try to create a new function that helps me to print this whole thing, and then I'll be sure whatever I've written is true, is okay or not. So let's say I create something called print. I just make a print function. So what this does is that, see, now my head is positioned at, so because at last I've pushed 1, so now my head is at 1. So I'll just create a new pointer head. Okay, let's create a new function called flat, and this will point to head. So I'll just write it this way, that this is node star flat is equal to head, and while my flat is not equal to null, so till the time it doesn't become null, right, I will just see out my flat of val, right? So, and also every time I just need to reassign it to the next node. Okay, and what I can do at the end, I can just do dll.print, and once I see out this, let me also use a spacing, dll.print. Let's see if there are any bugs in this code. Line number 20 has got some error. Let's check what is it. Okay, sorry. I need to end it this way, and also here I will do the same thing. Probably those are the only errors. Flat of val is giving an error. That should not happen. North star flat is equal to head. Okay, sorry. I just forgot key. This time I'm not using val. I have to use data. Generally I have a habit of using val, so that's why. Okay, so you can see that now I have my linked list printed this way. So as I push 3 first, then 2 and then 1, and it is being pushed to the front. So my 1 is now at the front, right? So just for better understanding, you can also uh, take it this way. You can print something like this, and at the end you could also print null, and then you could go to the next line. So this will be even better. Yeah. So that's how your doubly linked list exactly looks like. 1 2 3, and finally it points to null. Okay, so thank you. I hope you understood how to implement a doubly linked list. So thank you. If there are any doubts or comments, please post them in the comments.